Hey everybody, welcome to TFT, Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with
Oberon.
me, Banshee. We're sorry in advance, but it's the Unhappy Hour show. So we have to give you some tough news of some things that may be bothering you in this period from this fourth quarter moon to the next one. And what do we do about that?
We read 4 cards, and all cards are read reversed. We're looking specifically for the energies that we feel are contributing to our state of unhappiness.
And we try to tell you how you might be able to turn that frown upside down.
And who's our friend over here? They're not quite on camera.
I didn't have Bly with me, but it's mini me. It's mini Banshee, made for me by Fiber Magic, and it's a chakra doll, and it's very personal to me.
Well, let's hope it gives you a little hint.
So I think I've got mini me here to give me some comfort as we go through the readings.
All right, and the readings are specifically for the elemental signs of the zodiac, so we do them in order: air, fire, water, earth. But we also throw in one additional kind of collective one for the world at large, however you want to view that. And in each case, we ask those same questions, hoping to get to the heart of the matter.
You know, I've been mixing and shuffling the cards. You should shuffle first for the air signs. Air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Oh my goodness. Okay, brain not working yet. Sorry for the wet hair look, but I got a busy day today. So getting ready for everything that must be done.
Will you be able to reach here?
Yeah, that I can do.
All right.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, remember they are read upside down, and our first position is
Card 1. What is or will be making the air signs unhappy right now?
well, it's not the end of the world by any means, air signs. It's the Four of Wands reversed. Goodness.
Goodness indeed.
So honestly, I don't think it's a big deal, but maybe you do. Maybe there's just you were hoping to be further along with building something in your life, moving something forward, and you're a little disappointed with the progress. It's making you unhappy. It's possible, too, that maybe, I don't usually say this for this card, but I'm wondering, too, if you feel like there's nothing to celebrate right now.
That's a really interesting point. To me, I was going to be more literal and just say maybe there was a party you weren't invited to. Maybe you feel like you're shut out of a circle and you're not receiving any joy or attention or happiness there. And so that could be bumming you.
So let's see where the next card leads us.
Card 2 is how are you dealing, that is the air signs, with this unhappiness?
Oh, it's the Judgment card. The Judgment card. Well, how are you dealing with this unhappiness? Maybe you're being a little bit critical of others right now, or critical of the situation, or maybe, feeling not in a celebratory mood because you're punishing yourself in some way. Maybe you are taking something out on yourself.
Right. Is this possible that maybe you're blaming yourself for a slight that I thought, or that maybe is occurring somewhere in this whole situation? That's a possibility, but maybe there's also to the feeling that you feel like maybe you need to get even somehow, and so that could be included in the sense of judgment reverse, the idea that maybe you might want to tip the scales more in your favor.
See the camera shaking a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm trying to stabilize.
All right, so card 3 is...
Card 3. Why are your air sign feelings justified?
Maybe Mr. O was onto something. Or, you're feeling there's nothing to celebrate lately for this reason. The feelings are justified because it's the Five of Swords reversed. Oh my goodness. Well, we're in a really turbulent place right now in the US and worldwide. So many things going on, tensions with India, Pakistan, Gaza, all this stuff. Maybe some of us, really are feeling there's nothing to celebrate because they don't see any win, anything changing here.
Right. I mean, this has a real potential to have a power over kind of situation running amok here.
But I
And
like what you said about, the gathering. So this could relate to that.
this could relate to that. The idea that it doesn't really matter what you do and that your best recourse is to possibly get away from it. And of course, if we are looking at it from the national point of view, there's a lot of different feelings about what we should do, as citizens or as people living in a country where the sense of justice maybe has run amok.
I know.
We don't feel welcome anymore.
So one could read this both ways.
I know, I've suddenly steered into another diorama.
Well, let's get to the final one.
How you turn this frown upside down, air signs.
I like this in a way. It's the Eight of Wands reversed. And why would I like this here? Well, I'm kind of thinking the way you turned this frown upside down is, hey, how about not giving it any more of your time or energy? How about, like, for example, if it's what Mr. O thought in the beginning, and even what I thought, that maybe you're disappointed with the progress. Well, you lighten up on it right now. Lighten up on whatever it is you were working on that you are unsatisfied with the progress. Just take a break. You need it. But failing that, with the other thing he said, it really fits, that don't give any more energy to this people. Don't give any more time or energy to people who are disinviting you and you feel slighted and you feel hurt, like they really did it deliberately to you or something. And as for the world situation, well, try to just pull away from it a little bit. I'm not saying you shouldn't protest, we shouldn't do things, but let's not get, if things are winding you up, stay away from the social media a little bit, maybe the news a little bit. Just do what's necessary right now and not feed energy into all of this hatred and stuff going on, right?
A lot of times when we look at the Eight of Wands as a better position card, it's about focusing on a particular goal or target. Maybe this is saying we need a different target. We need to figure out something different to focus on and to focus away, like Banshee's saying, from this problem. Maybe we need to slow it down, chill it down.
And it's possible here too. I won't rule this out either, however this really resonates with you air signs. Maybe instead of focusing away, maybe the idea is to separate other distractions from the real main issue at hand and, fight for it. Fight for what is really most important here and not let yourself get distracted by other things. I mean, that's a possibility.
I like that.
I see with that Eight of Wands as well. Do you want to recap?
Well, let's recap it then. Okay, so card one, what's making us unhappy right now? Sense of not feeling like we belong somewhere, sense of feeling disinvited or excluded somehow, or just not welcome. And of course, Banshee thought that maybe this had to do with actual foundational things too, where maybe we felt like we weren't working together to build something together.
Yeah, that could be, absolutely. And I think here too, as far as the world issues go, we just feel that things are hanging in the balance. They're left unfinished. And maybe you can't find a way forward as to how. We feel it's out of our control to be able to find a way forward. That may be where the Judgment card comes in too. But
so speak of the Devil card too. How are we dealing with this air signs, this unhappiness? And we could be feeling it's a monumental unfairness. We could be feeling that maybe we feel we have to figure out how we can tip the scales back in our favor. I wouldn't rule out that maybe there could be some vengefulness here. Certainly some feeling of like, well, you'll see, the saying, do something, you'll find out.
Well, as we know with world issues right now, everybody is hypercritical of each other, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's pointing the finger at the other and nothing is getting accomplished. And so, you know, I feel here that how we're dealing, you air signs are dealing with either what's going on in the world or with this situation is that you're being hypercritical of others or yourself, you know. I think that's what's going on here. And if it is about foundational matters too, maybe you're blaming yourself for some of the lack of progress or others who you thought would be there with you on this.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
So ultimately, then we have to decide: are the feelings of the air signs justified here? And we have the reversed Five of Swords.
Why, yes, they are. Why are they justified? Because it just seems like a no-win situation, whatever scenario this is. You know, too much opposition, too much conflict. It's really starting, you know, to wear you down.
Right, and really what it is, it only puts you in a position of needing to get away from it.
And so how do you turn this frown upside down, for crying out loud? Well, one of two ways. You know, I say either eliminate the distractions that might be pulling you away from this or confusing you more and really get to the heart of matters. Focus on the heart of what's wrong and work for it or fight for it. Or maybe don't give it any more of your energy. Maybe you feel you need, for your own mental, emotional well-being, to pull away from this.
Right, choose a different target. Find something else to focus on.
Wow, air signs, good luck with that.
Good luck, indeed. All right.
All right, we are on the, no, it's my shuffle this time. You shuffled. We're on the fire signs. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. This reading is for us. One more. Oh, did we both shuffle before? We don't really, because I cut it for you now. I think that's what
Yeah, I guess we can do that.
I think the first time was a little wonky. Actually, I did have you shuffle because I shuffled before the show, mixing the cards up.
I was probably thinking of that.
Yeah.
So, fire signs, what is or will be making you unhappy?
Oh.
And it was already turned upside down. It's the Two of Cups reversed.
Wow, relationship issues. You know,
Right.
it doesn't have to be
Relationship issues.
romantic. I guess we'll see how this plays out as it goes. But some relationship, whether it's family, friends, lover, husband and wife, boss and you, some relationship is really having some problems and it's making you very unhappy, fire signs.
It's any kind of partnership or coupling where there's an emotional bond at the core of it, but it could be familial, it could be related to coworkers even, or people that you stand in a church and pray together. Some strong emotional bonded relationship is having a scrap of a time and it's making you unhappy.
And you know what? I think we can't rule this out either, sort of like we did with the judgment card in a different way. It could be an internal struggle. It could be you fighting yourself, and if you love yourself, being in conflict with yourself is, something's out of balance here and it's making you feel very unhappy and out of balance. So I can't rule that out either. Let's see what
fire signs, how will you be dealing with this?
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's the Ten of Swords reversed.
It's good.
And you realize that maybe you've met the worst of it and you feel you can move on, or you feel actually that, in some ways you were able to overcome what was the evil thing. This really does sort of sense that what you felt was oppositional, you've managed to divert it or defeat it.
You feel either you betrayed yourself or others betrayed you, and you are finally coming to terms with that. It looks as the way you're dealing with it now is maybe this is something that is past. And this fourth quarter is where you are coming to terms with it. You're healing and you're moving on. You realize here that that may have pulled you down. Somebody was able to maybe get the better of you, or some situation, or maybe you betrayed yourself, but you realize you're better than all of this and you're ready to move on.
Whatever kind of relationship it was, whether it's with yourself or with somebody else, you are moving on. That's how you're dealing with this.
Well, why are the feelings justified? Wow.
Because you were building something. Your feelings are justified because something was being built that maybe felt strong and rewarding in certain respects, that it may have provided security on some levels, that may have provided a sense of abundance, and that was jeopardized.
That is such a good point, and that's exactly right. I think here you were hoping something was building, like, for example, a romantic relationship, that that you were getting closer, that things were going to, a great new beginning was before you, but apparently not. It fell apart in a big way, and this could also involve work. That you thought this job you were at was going to be the great new beginning for you, but a falling out with management or other co-workers, or some office backstabbing going on has caused this issue.
I was going to say that this sort of had the contours of being a sense of a betrayal.
Yeah. So, I mean, here, you're definitely justified. And we've just given you a few examples, but you can extrapolate this into whatever it is you were trying to build, and it looks like with someone.
How would you turn this frown upside down?
That's it. Okay.
It's the 10 of Cups reversed. So 2 10s. Kind of interesting.
Well, it's so interesting. There's 2 10s.
Yes.
And they're, both unhappy. And so the only way you're going to be able to turn this frown upside down is to really let it go now. You have to realize it's over. It wasn't meant to be. I heard this before from other places, but I saw it recently too, this saying that door was not meant for you. That door you opened was just not meant for you. And so I think here, that's the way you're going to finally be able to turn that frown upside down and realize you have to move on.
Excuse me. In a way, whether it's upright or overturned, there's a core idea of acceptance. Acceptance of a happy life, or acceptance of something that
unhappy ending. Yeah.
An unhappy ending.
Yeah.
And so you accept that, and as the other cards may have indicated, you'll find the strength to move on.
Deep reading for us fire signs. Holy moly. So let's take a look at this again. It's clearly, to me, a relationship or partnership of some sort we're talking about here. Like I said, it could be business, interpersonal, really deeply personal, romantic, but it hurts. It's a breakup that seems sudden, or a parting of ways, or just a very insurmountable, it seems, difference of opinion.
It could be even on that larger level that we see ourselves in nationally.
Yeah, it could be. I can see that too. I just thought when I saw this personal, but to the people, but he's right. Because look at the tenor.
So we're dealing with this by moving from a sense of betrayal.
Yeah. A sense of betrayal is how we see this, and we're healing from it. We realize it for what it was now, and we're a lot wiser because of it. We'll make better choices and decisions because of what this did to us.
Things feel justified because we realize we thought we were building something together that would have been better.
Would have been beautiful, would have been better, would have been strong, but would have been growthful. But no, it just really couldn't get itself off the ground properly. So your feelings are definitely justified. Maybe, perhaps, you maybe were in denial, but maybe at the very beginning of, whatever this partnership, business was, relationship, you kind of had feelings that there were problems ahead. So, how do you do it? Upside down, you realize you have to shut that door.
You have to accept what it is and move on.
and accept it and move on. Because the more you hang on to it, the more sadness and sorrow you're going to feel. So, sorry for the fire signs, but good luck with that. Here you
We
go.
will
You
now
shuffle.
move on to the water signs.
Oh, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces.
This is most likely where we end up crying.
No.
Well, maybe I might.
Maybe you
I
water signs. Yes, you watery water signs you. Don't hurt too badly.
My mother would say, "You cry faster than you can." Never mind. All right.
Yes. Let's see.
Water signs. What is or will be making us unhappy right now?
Well, you're angry. It's the King of Wands. Reversed.
Sad. I'm angry.
Yeah, it's more anger, I think. Something has upset you, and maybe it's something you hope to control, have control over. Maybe you were trying to push an agenda forward and get people by hook or by crook to come along with you, and it just didn't happen. But I will also add that this could be somebody else. Maybe it's somebody else who's been trying to manipulate you and push you around. Again, this to me could sound like an office situation. This could also be what's going on right now in our country, for sure.
Well, wands do pertain to business and enterprise. There's a sense of maybe somebody being deceived with charm in the background, that maybe somebody tried to use charm to be deceiving or to convince or manipulate, as Banshee says. And it may be that you feel like you have been bamboozled in certain ways, or you're relating to this maybe on that sort of collective level. And of course, this is talking about water signs, who maybe just sort of feel more emotionally involved in it.
Right. Fire and water don't mix well, by the way,
True
and
that.
especially when reversed. I might also add why I feel it could be a collective thing as well, is because remember, somebody told a certain company recently that they needed to swallow the tariffs. And then that company kind of compromised down a little bit and said, well, we won't raise all our prices. So there was some bullying or badgering going on there that kind of pushed buttons back and forth. And so we can sort of see this on a collective level, even though this is for water signs. So think about bullying in that sort of way, or being pushed around, backed into a corner kind of thing. All right.
Part 2. How are the water signs dealing with this unhappiness right now?
Well,
and it is the 9 of Pentacles reversed.
That's interesting to me because, I kind of think that, well, I don't know. I'm going to let you go first.
Well,
what to think about
there's a sense that inverts our comfort level. We may be feeling like we can ration ourselves in certain ways to adjust to a situation. So maybe if we're feeling like somebody has manipulated us into a position we didn't want to be in, whether it was giving up something or doing something, maybe we feel we have to hold back on ourselves and be less expressive. So it may be making us feel like, we should just go and clam up in certain ways.
Well, if it is an office or work situation, or even a financial situation, if your financials are affected by what's going on right now in the U.S., for example, or other countries, you're trying to make the best of it. That's what I was thinking. And when you said what you said, I thought, yep, that's the way I've got to go with it. You're trying to make the best of a bad situation. And you may lose some things here. You may gain some things here. But whatever the situation is you're dealing with at work with somebody trying to push you around, maybe you're not feeling very confident right now about where you're at. But also, maybe you're feeling a little bit of insecurity about where you could could go, to move away from this situation. So you're just trying to make the best of things for now.
Interesting.
All right.
Part 3. Are the water signs' feelings justified?
It's the Hierophant reversed. I know. Kind of turns it on its head a little bit, maybe, but I think they are justified because, well, why are your feelings justified? Because maybe you feel that things could have been different. Things could have been so different. This person, for example, if they are badgering and bullying you, they could have taken a far different approach to things.
Well, I'm almost wondering if there was recourse for you, but you felt they were indifferent, and that's why your feelings are justified. It's like nobody was really listening to you. People said this wasn't really an issue for them, and it was that idea that it didn't meet a certain standard for somebody else to care enough to help you. Therefore, you felt, like nobody cared. Nobody really cared.
It's possible, too, that this could be relating to this card. In other words, that your feelings are justified to kind of stay where you are because maybe you're thinking of different ways to cope and deal with the situation.
That's interesting, too.
Yeah, so.
Card 4. Well, water signs, how will you turn this back around?
Wow, we start with the King of Wands. It's the Queen of Wands reversed. Well, I like it in a way. I think what it's saying is, you know what? Try to stay under the radar.
Yeah.
Just try, you're trying to make the best of a bad situation right now. Maybe you just need to try to stay under the radar, try to avoid this person or, situation as much as possible, or just make sure that you aren't the bullseye, and just do what you've got to do to make the best of a bad situation.
This may or may not be something that you can easily do, but there's also a sense of just being magnanimous, and that is also really sort of playing down your role or how it makes you feel. And don't give them that energy that maybe by being magnanimous, you sort of feel, especially if this is a social situation where you have few options to really avoid, for example, co-work, everybody has lunch together in the lounge, that kind of thing, or whatever it is, you can't avoid it, but maybe what you can do is just basically act in a sense sort of indifferent to it, or that it doesn't really bother you. And that's not, easy, because being magnanimous sort of means trying to be the better person.
Yeah, exactly. But also, it is reversed, and I just kind of get the feeling that when she's reversed, sometimes she's afraid to show herself off, which led me to believe, to say what I said.
I think so too.
I think either is valid. I think this is a real interesting reading overall. Let's look at this. We've got Pentacles and Wands here, front and center, and I feel this is definitely probably a work-related reading. My feeling. All right, so let's take a look at this. We've got somebody who might be pushing you or boxing you into a corner here. You're feeling a lot of pressure. They're trying to make you either be on their side with something, or they're just trying to bully you around.
Maybe somebody wants you to be the bright and shining person, and that's not really a role you can be, and so there's pressure to conform to an idea that doesn't really sit on you.
Could very well be that this person is jealous of you. I just didn't think about that either. But so, how are you? How are you dealing with this right now? I kind of think you're just trying to make the best you can out of a bad situation. You're doing what you can to just kind of stay afloat here.
Well, there's a garden that has bushes and tall trees. Maybe you're hiding in the shadows.
Well, yeah, it does kind of tie in there, with that last card. Are your feelings justified? justified? Sure. I think here you're just trying to figure out what it is you need to do to kind of stand, to circumnavigate this person, to try to come up with creative ways of dealing with this person or the situation that you're in. So it's kind of a hostile situation. It certainly seems like office politics to me. And so you're just trying to think of a radical new approach, but also your feelings are justified because you think this person could be doing so much better, could be doing things totally differently, or the situation at hand could be handled so much differently.
It's almost like somebody is trying to make you more the attention to some situation than is right or that you belong to. And so,
like they're trying to pass on blame or something?
Something like that. And so your feelings are justified because you're just really trying to not be on that radar. You're trying to stay where is appropriate to you. And so you don't understand why this is happening, or you don't see why they feel they should be doing that.
And how do you turn that frown upside down? Hey, just lay low. Lay low until you can decide what to do, until you can feel comfortable enough to either move away, or maybe you come up with some creative ideas that kind of tone the situation down a bit.
I agree.
So that's what we have for you, water signs. Wow. Hey, you guys are pretty sneaky. You'll come up with something.
Well, some of
Or I should say crafty. In a kind of diabolical sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's my shuffle, I think.
All right.
Yeah. And so, all right. So it is
Earth signs.
Earth signs.
Taurus, Virgo, and
Capricorn. It's your turn. Get ready. Where does it hurt?
And I use as a backdrop the gloomy leaves.
Gloomy leaves. Yeah, well, yeah. Interesting, Mr. O.
It's the reverse side of the not gloomy leaves.
Yes. No, I get you.
All right, so Earth signs, what is or will be making you unhappy right now? And it's the reverse Six of Wands. You're unhappy because nobody seems to realize what you do. Nobody realizes how much you contribute.
Yeah, there could be worse things to feel sad about, but it does feel bad sometimes when you don't get credit where credit is due, where people don't acknowledge the good things you do for them, when you feel like you've had to do all of something on your own. Yeah, I can see why that would make you unhappy, Earth signs.
This could be a very specific situation that happened. This could be something where really they should have totally acknowledged you, or somebody should have, and they didn't. How will you be dealing with this? And it's the reversed Two of Wands.
Wand. Interesting.
Looking at your options.
Well, realizing that maybe you need to strategize, maybe you're beginning to realize here, if it's always going to be on you, it's time for you to come up with a more winning strategy, because maybe you've suffered some setbacks and defeats because you did not get the support you deserved. And so now it's time to re-strategize and think, what do I need to do on my own now?
Somebody may have had a view for where they saw you going, but it wasn't really the view that you saw or that you were being a part of.
All right, so why are our feelings justified, Earth signs?
More Wands, so maybe more office politics here. It's the reverse Queen of Wands.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, the Queen of Wands is here. Why are your feelings justified? Because you didn't get the credit. You didn't get to stand in the limelight. But also maybe it's because they thwarted your plans completely, because you didn't get the support you needed. So in other words, it's interesting to me, other people didn't want you to get the glory. They didn't want to see you succeed. Wow, that's really rude.
Right. Things didn't go out for you, and maybe somehow they actually devalued you, that to some degree this was about reshuffling you to the back of
the line.
pick your
Yeah.
appropriate anecdote or perspective there, and that's why your feelings are justified, because you realize you were pushed out of line.
So, how do you turn this upside down? Let's see. Oh my
More
God.
wands,
I love, my
and
God,
it's the
it's
10 of
all
wands.
wands. All
It's all wands. It's
wands.
all wands.
So this is definitely work or business
so.
or project goal oriented. You know, the Ten of
Could
Wands
be.
reversed is the perfect, well, I don't know if it's the perfect solution, but unburden yourself of these feelings, you know. Let it go. Just chalk it up to, you know, who your friends are now, you know who your allies are, and maybe there are none. And you may have to stand on your own and accept that. And I think you're just, but that will be one burden that you don't carry. You know, it's kind of like it's weighing heavily, too heavily on you, that you feel this lack of support. It's hurt you pretty badly, but it's time to let it go and realize this load, this ability to get a victory, will be more possible when you let this go and you realize you have to do it on your own.
I'm inclined to believe that this is maybe less work related and maybe just more of a general friend or community kind of thing going on here. And the idea that, reminder,
Oh, okay.
the idea about, just getting away from this, that there's basically the connectivity or the sense of interlocking relationships presents burdens or complications that you should just figure out how, to get rid of them. But whether it is work or that you have to kind of shrug it off and toe the line that's best for you, per the structure there. If it is work, there are some things you may not be able to shrug off as avoid. But that's why I'm thinking it may be something else, that it could just be a community or situation, a friend situation. Either way, let's go over it again.
Okay. So basically, I'm going to stick with work. I don't know why. Maybe this is just going to be a tough week for some of us at the work front. But at any rate, I like what he's saying, though. It could be a community. It could be family, a lack of family support. You just feel like you haven't been able to accomplish, get to the finish line, have a victory on something you really wanted to do. Maybe if it's at work, you were hopefully up for a promotion or maybe a bonus if you got something done on time, and you didn't have the support you needed to carry this through. As a matter of fact, you may have had people that were actively trying to undermine you.
I don't know about that part, but definitely you feel sad because somebody didn't appreciate something really big you did.
Well, I'm not even sure they got it done. But, that's just it. Maybe you did get it done, and, people were able to make people not recognize it was you that did it. Maybe somebody else took the credit, I guess. So, what about this situation? How are you dealing with it? Well, I think here you're going to have to come up with a new approach, and I think you realize that now, that you might not be able to turn this around. You may either have to go back to the drawing board, or you have to do something new that will get the attention you deserve and make sure you get all the credit for it. And that means not even trying to ask for help from others.
If things had given you the credit or the recognition you needed, your plans might have been different. You might have been able to build on these plans and go somewhere else. But now, it feels like, you're kind of stuck where you're at. And so that's what you're dealing with, is just being stuck where you're at, being sort of detained or derailed.
So, are your feelings justified? Well, yeah, you feel like you really, have gone unnoticed, that people did not give you the recognition. They're not even being drawn to you for any reason. They're ignoring you, so that really kind of hurts. Your feelings
In some cases, it might even be negative attention, that maybe people are doing more detractive things.
And so to turn that frown upside down, I think you need to let this go, re-strategize, and come up with something new that you can fully get credit for and get the attention you deserve.
Right. It may be that you were trying to do too much, and maybe you have to let some of that go and focus more on some real specific stellar situations you could be involved in.
And you know what? I like that too. I don't like to tell people to bring down their expectations, but maybe you had too high of expectations in this case, and you need to kind of dial some of that back as well.
It's an earth sign thing. Well, maybe not.
Maybe. All right. Dun,
So
dun,
sadly, we have to move on
to the
Oh,
world.
Where does it hurt, world?
Mm.
What's bugging the world now? And of course, we realize there's no one generic feeling, but we're going to just try to hone in on sort of an essence feeling here. What the world needs now is, well, we'll find out.
We'll find out. All right, and
We should both shuffle.
I was going to say I'm going to give it to you to shuffle, and you can cut. All right, there you go. And I'll just hold mini-me here in the meantime.
Right.
Okay, here we go.
What is making the world
Unhappy.
unhappy? In the Gestalt.
Well, I could say a certain person that's sitting in the White House.
Well, nobody feels like they have the control they need right now. Nobody.
Right. Let's just
in general, whether they really do or whether they really don't, whether they really deserve it or whether they really don't, there's too much of a world feeling like things are just not under control. Nobody's listening to me.
Things are out of control. It's really scaring people. You know, they don't know who they can trust, what leaders they can trust. And also, we cannot ignore that it's the Emperor reversed, which could be somebody who is just a little egomaniacally controlling power. You know, he's got a lot of power to wield, but it's all in their own personal interests. All right.
So how are we dealing with this?
Well, that's interesting. It's the Four of Swords reversed. I think we're dealing with this in a lot of ways. There's just, there's a lot of protests going on in the world. There's a lot of dissent. There is people voting like no tomorrow in their countries to make a difference and vote in leaders that they hope will, steer them on a better course. There's also a lot of energy being put into whatever is making them unhappy as far as their everyday lives go. You know, in this country, that would be prices that are rising, different benefits that might be disappearing, watching the stock market and making sure they're not losing money. We're putting a lot of time and energy in trying to mitigate what's wrong here.
We're dealing with this as in a sense of recovery, that even people who maybe thought they were getting what they wanted to get from the election, they're realizing it didn't happen, and they want to recover from what that was too. And when you think about it, it's the reverse of the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is sort of like, really a placation and end of things, sort of an abidement. And the reverse of that says it's really more about resisting that.
Well, and it's re-energizing.
It's re-energizing. So, a lot of R words.
Yes. I usually do that with this card. I usually do.
Revolt.
Revolt is not usually one I use, but
that's true.
It's interesting.
Part 3. Why are our feelings justified?
Oh boy, I'm afraid of this because I have a feeling about it.
It's
the moon
reversed.
We found
out.
I have a feeling like this week I was feeling something's going to go down this week. Something somewhere, whether it's in the US or elsewhere, is going to go down this week, and it's going to be very eye opening, apparently. I'm beginning to think this might be relating to that. Now, maybe it won't be this week. Maybe it's going to be in the fourth quarter moon period. And I get the feeling here this is what's been on my mind, that something is going to really open a lot of eyes soon.
That could be, but isn't it always like that old song by The Who? We won't get fooled again, but we do.
So, in other words, our feelings are going to be very justified because of something we have found out or find out. And I really think we're going to find it out.
And the moon reversed is obviously secretive, gossipy, intrigue. This could have been something that somebody didn't mean for a lot of people to find out.
Oh boy. So,
well, how will we turn our frown upside down?
It's of all things death reversed.
Well, it's maybe we have to let people stew in their own stagnant juices for a while. Maybe people still, even despite revelations, haven't hit that final core of rest.
I'm going to go the opposite way with this, or sort of. Maybe what this is saying is we have to stop sitting on our butts and doing more. The people who have the power, not corporations, not leaders, we're the people they should be serving. And we need to find a way to break through. And everything has been stagnating and building up to a very negative level worldwide. Various things going on in the world. We need to break that cycle.
I think you're right. Probably more so than mine. I mean, mine is a very Scorpionic.
I liked it. I liked it too. So let's recap of this one, world. Well, things are bad. I think things are out of control right now, and it's making people feel very unhappy. I mean, when you look at just everything going on in the world, all the different conflicts, all the different strife. There's been some elections that have been giving some people hope. Hey, the election of the new pope that has come in is giving some people hope. There's definitely some light, but overall, there's a lot of chaos right now.
It's almost like the shadow issue for the entire world is who has control and who doesn't. And that maybe there is a battle going on for people to understand
who really has the power.
Who really has the power, or whether or not we really all have the power.
Yeah. And clearly there are some very ideologue leaders here who are, serving their own purposes, and it's hurting people. It's hurting a lot of people. And so how are we dealing with this? Well, I feel here that people are trying to energize. They're trying to fight back, but maybe I have to say this is good, but looking at the end result here, I have to say that maybe some of the tried and true methods are not working. Maybe we have to look for another way to re-energize and to direct our energy in order to turn some of these situations around that are really bad, like starvation in Gaza, for example.
But it is the swords, and swords brings a sense of mental examination and possible clarity.
Yeah. Okay.
The moon itself is a good sign in that respect.
We're going to find something out, and it's going to be really not good. And I think here it's going to be very eye-opening. Yep. And that will maybe be what causes us to realize that the way forward is to find a way that's really going to get through to the powers that be that we've had enough.
Right. And that's why death is this card, because death spares no one. They're going to die too.
Yeah.
So we all have to live together.
So we have to figure a way forward. And, even with some of what's going on, whether it's in our country or other places, there is a real stagnation. And they're not getting everything that they want either here. So truly, better ways forward need to be found all the way around.
All right. We heard it here first.
We have to redo that? I think we
I
kind
thought
of
that
did.
was our recap,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I guess we did.
That was our recap.
All right.
All right.
Until we meet again,
Sorry.
you know, these are the kind of issues we have to work through. Wishing everybody luck and in turning those frowns upside down. And we'll meet again at the next fourth quarter moon.
Until then.
All right. Bye for now.
Goodbye for now.
Take care.